For so quick.
Right.
I know.
Sometimes, and that's another reason too. That's so funny. So we did that. That's a funny. Where am I coming up with these numbers? I showed him the book. You know what I mean? I was like, this is really what you want to look for. So I tried to educate him as much as I could and try to make him feel comfortable. But I spent like 45 minutes on him. And
did he come back?
No. You know, silver does have the biggest potential for the largest gains. Yeah. So we're texting back and forth about a purchase. He was looking for some gold, or I had some gold that I was willing to sell, whatever.
And you were sick, and you were just getting over it too.
Yeah. So I remember I was texting him the price, and he comes in, and like everything's fine. We made the deal. He comes in, and he has like X amount of dollars, and I'm like, what? That's pretty. That's like $1,000 light. And he's looking at me like, but you texted. I'm like, no way. I'm like, I go back and look, and I was like,
my first question was, why so cheap? Like, what are you doing?
He texted that to me. He really did, and I never registered. Didn't register at all.
Were you drunk, or were you?
No,
I think he's just moving fast.
Just moving too fast and texting. You know what I mean?
It happens.
Just knee-jerk reaction.
But the nice thing about having a relationship both ways is that like, I understood that was a mistake, and I'm not taking $1,000 hit on gold. I wouldn't expect him to.
Yeah, and inadvertently, I was like, you know what? Listen, this will make me whole. Just make me whole. But it was one of my mistakes. And we're friends. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. And I'm like, no worries, man. Just,
where have you been hiding him? I like him.
Yeah,
I like him. We need to bring him into the fold.
I'd love to come do it. I mean, I love watching your channel. It's good stuff, and I just have I've done less and less these days just because my like main business is so busy. But I love it, and that's the other thing about Facebook when we're talking about that really slows me down is when I try to go through, this is like a hobby for me. I make a little money on it, but it's mostly a hobby for me, and I don't have time to go through those messages because I'm trying to go through a collection in a weekend.
Yeah.
I'm doing like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing.
And when you have like tedious collections where there's a gazillion of something or whatever have you, it's tough. Man.
Yeah, I can't send 6 messages about a $5 proof set. It just doesn't.
It doesn't make sense.
That's the other half, right? Yeah. So people, that really frustrates me sometimes, and I try to be patient. But perfect example, I had somebody come into my store yesterday or the day before. They're new, didn't really know much about coins, and you could tell they were a little bit concerned, like in terms that they didn't want to get ripped off. I saw that right away. I was like, no problem. So the person's literally taking a single coin out of his pouch and putting it down on my... And for me, it's almost infuriating because I'm like, please just dump what you have down on the counter. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not in the business to do that, right? But he just one at a time, and I took my time, and I was like, and at the end of the day, it was like $47 what I gave him because he kept a lot of his stuff.
Right.
And I explained every single coin and why the price is this, and where am I coming up with these numbers? I showed him the book. You know what I mean? I was like, this is really what you want to look for. So I tried to educate him as much as I could and try to make him feel comfortable. But I spent like 45 minutes on him. And
did he come back?
For $40 purchase. What am I going to make on that? $5?
Right.
If you got the time, if you're hanging out and you got the time, it's nice.
But he
to
always
do.
has something. He always is rock and rolling with his eBay or phone calls or ordering.
Yeah,
That's why I was saying getting Steve pinned down to do videos is really difficult.
Yeah, I got here half an hour earlier today, right? So we came in, the front of the shop was open. I think we only got 15 minutes into our video.
Not even.
We were already first of all, my phone is blowing up with. I'm like, I just got to put this down for right now. I'll revisit this when we're done.
Yeah.
So I'm just to try to get some solid footage, because it's just that's my life.
You move quick. I mean, I also can't tell you how many deals I've tried to do with Steve. So I have like a couple gold buyers. It's really like 3 or 4 people that'll buy for me consistently. And it's when I have time and when I can get a good deal on supply. And I can't tell you how many times Steve's texted me and been like, I got 6 maple leafs, and I'll be like, give me an hour, and I text him back. I'm like, okay, I'll take 2. He's like, gone. I'm like
nice.
It's interesting to me that you move so quick, and it's probably because you have so many channels. You have eBay, you have here, you have just kind of a network.
Yeah, when it comes to especially if I'm like a wholesale block of gold or whatever have you, I literally can I've developed a network of people that I make 6. I'll make 6 texts out there, and usually they're people that are ready to go right now, and because I don't have time to play. If I'm wholesaling gold, it's probably because I've been buying a tremendous amount about it, and my wallet's getting a little light.
Yeah.
Which means I need to turn and burn.
Right.
And that's how it is as a dealer. You can't fall in love with your stuff, man. You got to move.
Right.
And sometimes trying to get every last penny out of things is not that's how you good way to go out of business.
That's a great lesson. That's something I feel is like you got to move stuff quickly. Like you can get a couple more bucks on eBay, but like how much time did it take you to list it? How much time did it take you? Did you get a return? Did you get a cancel? Like sometimes it's easier to just move it.
I have a
here
really good example. So I just bought a block of sealed GSA Morgan dollars. You don't see them very often. They're still in the original cardboard boxes that they were shipped from GSA to the person. And they were in boxes of 5, which were still sealed. They still had the original. I literally broke the outer boxes, the shipping boxes open. So I had like 23 or 24 of them. Really nice product, right? Like you can sell them on eBay and pop them off and make nice profit on them. Mm-hmm. However, it's a slow grind, right? And that was a decent chunk of capital tied up. So a dealer came to me, made me a very fair offer on them. I said, you know something? I said, it's a good offer. Let me think about it. I thought about it for about a half a day. I'm like, you know something? I need to
move it.
I'm going to capitalize and just move. And I left a nice, enough for him to be comfortable. There's money to be made.
But you just wanted to get the money out because you had to move it into other things.
Because the thing is, this is the analogy that's always been told to me is, as a dealer, if somebody comes into your store and you don't have the money to buy what they come in your store, they're going to go to the next guy.
Yeah, and they'll remember.
And they're going to remember. They're not going to come back.
Yeah.
So it's important to make sure that you can have that ability to be able to buy whatever comes to your door at any time.
What's your favorite item or your? I mean, it could be most profitable, or just the thing you most desire to take in over the counter. Because for
90% junk silver.
I was just going to say that constitutional. That is the thing that I have
That's
zero problem selling.
Yeah.
I can sell it in any quantity or volume I want, and I always have a buyer. Like I can send 2 texts and I can sell $50.
I can
value.
retail it. That's why, because I have a buyer for everything everything in my store. I literally can make a phone call and sell right now. Wholesale,
so I wanted to I had written down on my notes over there. I wanted to ask about junk silver, and the question that I have, because for me, I don't like junk silvers because there's not enough premium in there for me, at least, because when you look online and everything, you see what everybody is selling junk silver for, and what's the incentive for people to buy from me as opposed to somebody else. My price has to be low enough.
Yeah, retail market's tight on that.
It's tight, and so right now, what are you seeing junk silver at? $25, 25 times face? Like, what are you? 24?
It's a little less than that, I think.
Yeah, I think it's less than that.
Less than that.
But the thing I like, that's why I think I like taking it. I don't have a counter, but over your counter or like through a collection, is because I can give someone almost spot value, not be ripping them off, and then still add my premium on it. And people want to buy lower quantities of constitutional silver, and I can split it up like that because here, take a roll of quarters. I don't need to sell like even a single ounce of gold, at $2,000 versus. I could sell you a couple $100 of junk silver, and I think that's how most people.
You'll make more
that's
money.
how the average person
You'll make
invests.
more money on the junk silver because there's a little bit bigger margin on it than an ounce of weight. So an ounce of gold is $2,000. What are you making? $100 if you're lucky.
Yeah,
right?
If you're lucky,
So
that's a good day.
And I think most people invest on some sort of like, okay, I got my paycheck. Here's for easy numbers. Let's say I got $1,000. I want to put $100 into metals.
Right.
You can't do that with gold on any sort of practical level.
No, that's true.
But I can go buy a roll of dimes every week. You
Right.
know, and I think a lot of people like to invest that way.
So what would you? All right. So I mean, without totally like telling, because people that are watching this video, they may actually see you on here, and like, what would you say you are taking the junk silver in at? Like, are you paying the customer spot or a little over spot?
Somewhere very close to spot is probably the best way to put that, because for me, it depends on the volume.
Right.
If you're going to come in here and sell me, $20 or 20 pieces, let's say 20 quarters or something like that.
Right.
Obviously, I need to buy a little bit with more of a margin, because it takes, the way that silver works for me anyway, is that in order for me to get my best premium out of it, I got to think on the wholesale level. I need $1,000 face. So if you're selling me 20 quarters, it's going to take a long time before I get $1,000 face.
Yeah.
So I'm exposed to the market for much longer. If you come in here and sell me $200 or $300 face, then I'm going to work much closer for you, because you're getting me closer to that goal.
Right.
So if that makes sense.
Would you say you both on average would make maybe $2 or $3 over what, like I'm just thinking of my past experiences selling this stuff. I would buy it for whatever. Actually, I would buy it from you, whatever your price is. I'd buy it, and then I think I would be able to maybe mark it up like $2 per dollar face, and
that's about right.
Yeah, and then at the end of the night, I'm like, all right, I did however much, but it was a small amount. I don't know. I get listening to the two of you and the both of you are like, oh, junk silver's the best. I'm like, all right, maybe I got to rethink.
Well,
it.
It's the best over the counter. I wouldn't buy it from Steve and try to resell it.
Or I wouldn't go on the wholesale and try to buy
Correct.
a bag and try to resell it. We don't mean it like that. We mean as dealers, it's best for us to buy it, and it's like he actually nailed it. You can pay your client very close to the melt value, so you're not hurting them.
They're getting a fair deal.
They're really getting a clean handshake on that, and there's enough margin on it that it's worth our time as well.
Let me ask you both this.
And it's
then.
easy to move.
Yeah.
You never have to look for a customer.
I don't disagree with that. Like, you can move that very, very quickly, but the other thing too is, like, one of the things that, at least in my opinion, you've got, let's say an ounce of junk silver, $1.40, right? $1.40 is like about an ounce or whatever. And then, or you can go and buy like a pure silver semi-numismatic coin, essentially for the same price. Like, I feel like junk silver back in the day was, the best, cheapest way to buy the silver. Cheapest way to buy the silver. But now I feel like the premiums have come up on it to where, is it really that much better or advantageous to buy and sell that as opposed to
Depends
like
on what your mindset
a junk,
is,
right?
Why are you buying silver? Really, is I think the really important part to think about.
Totally.
Is it an investment? Are you thinking about a shit hits the fan type of situation? Right. Where's your mind at? And that's usually the questions that I sort of throw at people to try to understand where they're coming from. Are you hedging the dollar?
Right.
Are you looking for, silver does have the biggest potential for the largest gains, hands down, and it's affordable to get into.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking is usually what I ask, and that's sort of how I help them.
I think you and I have a similar theory on silver, well, on gold too. Is an ounce of silver is an ounce of silver. I don't really care what the form is, in my opinion. And in some ways, I like the bigger, like a larger bar. For myself, if I was keeping it for myself, I'd prefer like a larger bar just because it's easier to store. It's
10 ounce, a kilo. Like, how big are we talking?
Well, I mean, okay, so everything you. There's two factors that I look at in everything I sell. So I'm buying it. What can I get at a low premium, right? But then if I resell it, I'm going to know that I'm going to have a low premium as well. So if I buy, like, let's say I bought a 100-ounce bar, I'm going to probably get per ounce the lowest premium on that versus a 10-ounce or a 1-ounce bar. Yep. But I got to know when I resell it, I'm also going to probably get a lower premium because there's not a ton of people that are hanging on to $2,500 in silver money. So just as it becomes cheaper for you to get it, it's going to become cheaper for you to sell it. So back to what you said is, like, where's your mind at? If you're trying to flip stuff real quick, like with any coins or numismatic stuff, I'm trying to move that. Like, so I'm not keeping it, units. Not waiting for appreciation. Any silver that I would keep for myself that goes into my own stash, I would say is probably